Very, very beautiful, touching, heartfelt, serious performance. It's imbued with just the right emotion and intensity. What I'd like to work at a little bit is, I was going to get another copy, wasn't I?
Oh.
Give me a moment to get my other copy. Really, do you mind? Oh, you use your iPad? Or?
I think I'd rather write my notes on my iPad, so you can.
So I'll take this one. Really, just how to make your message even clearer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Schumann's music is crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
It's wild, and so our job sometimes is to sort of clarify the message.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, to embody the wildness and not to shy away from that, but also to try and make sense of his syntax, his speaking, his singing, so that we can really be even clearer and even more touching with your intense message, I think. If it feels like it's communicating to us on a very natural level, we will connect with that more. Music is all about conflict and resolution, tension and resolution. Can you perhaps tell me and the audience a little bit about what conflict was in Schumann's life at this time when he wrote this?
Well, he wrote this before he was allowed to marry Clara Schumann.
Mm-hmm.
It has also the Clara motive.
Yeah.
It's just a very passionate piece of, I think, like, just the purest form of like love and lust and
and longing.
Yeah.
And I knew you knew all that because you played it with such conviction. Yes, Schumann was separated from his beloved Clara, and this affected everything he did at this time. He was obsessed with the idea of, wanting to be with her. They had these secret codes that went between them. As you've rightly pointed out, the five-note descending with which the piece begins is the Clara motif, coming from a work of hers, and they had all these little musical codes that they banded between each other, because of course she was a composer as well. And in musical terms, how he plays out that conflict needing resolution in this piece is, well, it's how all music plays it out. It's looking for resolution from the opening bass. Once we hear that, we're looking for the resolution of that, which is, and he calls it Fantasie in C major. So when we know. I wonder if you considered where we get that resolution to C major. Let's talk about it as we go. Well, I'll tell you now, it's a long way into the piece, all right? So this is the perfect embodiment of his frustration, of his longing, needing resolution, needing, the union with Clara, if you like. This opening, rather statuesque version of, the main theme really, I think, begins in 19, when he does it this way. In diminution. So it starts in augmentation with the statuesque rhythm. Something grander, not the intimacy of the quicker rhythm.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite hard at the opening to both get that sense of grandeur and statuesque introduction, sort of, presenting this theme, presenting his emotion, but also making it sing. This minim line, this slow-moving line, give it a rubato which makes it sense, which gives it a singing or a speaking shape. Let's try. I think the best way to set it up is not to rush too much with the left hand before it comes in, because I would try and mark as much as you can the beats. Tom, pom, 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 pom. You're actually letting your left hand run out of time. But if you, as the performer, can keep, of course he can do in the cello rondo, but tom, tom, pom, 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 pee, through your fifth fingers. Control, like a conductor, the pulse. See, not quite coming in the right place. It's 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. It comes in with the fifth finger. Right? Yeah. Good. All right. Yes. You understood immediately. I didn't mean accent the fifth finger.
Yeah.
I mean just control it like a conductor. And then when this comes in, it can be bigger, I think. Yeah. You know, what you can do is drop down to piano, as he says, but then do a crescendo to... Just a little one to introduce the right hand. Ah, that wasn't fun. It was the wrong amount of beats. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Yeah, make it one phrase. Ta-ti, 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 ta. Find a rubato. Maybe you need to start slower the first couple of minims, and then you can link it all as one phrase. Yes, I think these quavers. Yeah, for me it's slightly too slow, you see. This is an introduction, as we said earlier, the main body of the piece starts a few bars later. Yeah. So let's not take too long. So you did the diminuendo well. Maybe don't take any longer than that over this phrase. Ta, ti, di, di, the interrupted cadence. Yes, beautiful. Yeah, that was better. Be a bit more poetic with the rhythm in this. I think there's something more casual about this repetition. He has, again, long note values, and then repeats it in diminution. To me, that's more conversational, more intimate, more confiding. So play it in a slightly more casual rhythm. You don't have to start the writ straight away, by the way. So, 2. So you link all of those 6 notes, 7 notes into one phrase, one shape. Right. Don't delay the last note. That's the weak note. It's not a strong note. Beautiful. Okay. It's a real stream of consciousness, because you know we said this is the opening theme, but in diminution. Yeah. What gave him the idea for that, in a stream of consciousness way, is that he just repeated this phrase in diminution. So it's like, oh, I will do the first phrase. Yeah, so it's got a natural flow. Good. Now make this one phrase. You did this. I'm exaggerating, but it's this Clara descending 5 notes again, but it's ta-da-dum, ta-dee-dum. Don't make a new phrase for the last 3 notes. Yes, you might find it very nice, but yes, if you play more on the A, I think it's easier. Then you've got something to come away from. Lovely. Yeah. Now let's start to look at his phrasing more here. This is really one of the main things I want to say to you. Within the phrase, go through, play naturally. Don't pause. Certainly don't stop before the last note of the phrase. But conversely, breathe more between the phrases. All right? Because we've got to balance this moving on with space. So between all these phrases, I think you can take a little bit more time. Especially here. This syncopation, fourth beat, needs time to be prepared in the voice, in the breath. So you've got to create a bit of space. Don't charge into this fourth beat in time. The left hand will have to create some space in order to create the breath, which is going to give the syncopation strength. And the high note. It fulfills all these requirements for strength in a phrase, yeah? High note, syncopation, beginning of a phrase. And the way you give it that strength is by breathing before it. So. Breathe. You see? Tom, pom, pom. That's a new phrase. Look at your phrasing as you play. Breathe. Yeah, it could be even a bit later, you know. Just play from and then go, and then go, and then go. Yeah, that was lovely, but then you need to go. Balance it. Yeah, even though he's divided that into two phrases, it's one really. Treat it as one shape. Sure. Yeah, you're doing pretty well at filtering out your texture as well. Maybe the foot can be a little bit more active, changing every beat for these semitones in the bass, yeah. Yeah, but don't change cleanly. It needs a sort of half change, yeah. Good. Yeah, I like the way you introduce that A flat in that bar. Some people just brush over it. I think you can do even more with it, actually. You know, when you... And then link it to the next section in a more impulsive way. We have that A flat at the beginning of the bar. It's this big siren of mystery. But then it bursts forward, you know, impulsively. Yours takes a bit more time just there. Too much time just there. Okay, wait. Yeah, very good. Yeah, timing-wise, I like it's got some wildness about it. But watch the crescendo. Crescendo. Also, this is a very typical Schumann rhythm. They're all syncopations. Ba, 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 bum. All right. Now, I've suggested an accelerando. Yes, and a crescendo for sure. But I don't want to sacrifice that feeling of syncopation in every note. There's a tension to every single note. Ba, ba, ba. So can you feel the missing notes? Oh, no, because you did tom, pom, pom. Oh, yes, that is correct. Yes. Carry on for now. Maybe a little broader. Oh, first phrase a little broader, maybe. Yeah, And that moment is one of the first proper cadences of the piece.
Right.
It's actually in E flat, not the C major we're looking for. But he's managed to resolve this dominant seventh, even though it's 5/7 C now, whereas it started on yeah. So when we have this resolution, E flat major, what is it the impetus for? What happens next?
The theme shows up, or is that not?
What's that? Say again?
It's the theme that shows up later in the...
Yeah, yeah. And harmonically, it gives rise to a very restless period. Suddenly, we've arrived in E flat major, and then it sort of frees the music to modulate.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go. Yeah, can you, be very clear that the first note of these phrases. Yes, and also this idea of syncopation again, which is going to come up later. There's a lot of tension in that. Don't rush that part of it. Each time. So it's two syncopated. Yes. You see, what you did then is you felt the first syncopation, but you brushed over the second one. Yeah. So it's then you can go quick. There's an effort involved, enormous effort in each of these. Good. And in terms of, what we're doing with the rubato, we're balancing that, taking time for the syncopations with moving on in between them. Carrying on, next phrase. No, you see, you did, so there was no tension in the second one.
Where's it? I lost it.
Now flow. Yeah, you play that like two phrases at least, but it's just one. Try and find ti ta ta ti da di da 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 da. Yeah. Then dum 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 dum. Simpler. It's more beautiful, actually. Where is the heart of this phrase in terms of the tonal peak?
The A?
Yeah, maybe he puts a crescendo. So from there, I would make this the peak and then come away. Okay, he puts a little crescendo at the end, but that's just an emotional kind of frisson. Don't rush before that. Simple rhythm. Don't crescendo too soon. It's just at the end. Don't make the F sharp important. Now, that's one phrase now. Well done. Lovely. Here I find a slight disparity between the atmosphere you're creating and the writing. It suggests to me something very restless and disturbed, but it's a little bit too relaxed in rhythm when you play. Can you try and get... Yes. Now, I would suggest you don't stop there, because this passage grows out of this. It's a continuation of it. It's not a new beginning. So this thing is a direct descendant of so you've got to connect here. It's the restless feeling doesn't abate at this point. Just try one more time from yes. And then now think about what happens in the bass. Yeah. From here onwards, can you really use the fifth finger of your left hand to mark the progress? It's interesting, isn't it? It's like we had this, and then B flat, and then T, do, do, do. And then what does he do? He steps down one note to G to start this journey. But from there on, we're rising until we get to the dominant of F major. So use these bass notes more. Yes, very good, very good. I would perhaps even keep the pedal so that you keep this A flat all the way through that bar. You know, so you really link your bass notes. Try pedaling that way. Try not changing in that back. Because I want you to listen to the bass more than anything, the way it goes here, and then steps back, and then is now here. It does work. You know, the pedal can create this crescendo that we want in that bar, as long as you see, it just creates excitement in the sound. If you do a crescendo in the hand, it doesn't sound too dissonant. It sounds appropriately wild. Yes, you see now the way you're linking the bass notes. It's much more satisfactory than actually breaking in the middle of the bar. Now we're linking through the bass. Good. Don't keep flowing here. You do something strange with the rhythm. That's it. And then we've arrived at the C, you see. And now it's the dominant of F major. Let's go on. Keep this line flowing as well. Okay, I was playing along with you just to sort of convey that I feel this should move more. It's more beautiful if it flows freely. You know, I think Clara mentioned this was her favorite part of the movement. You know, Schumann wrote to her and said, I've written the most passionate thing. This first movement is my most passionate outpouring for you. And she wrote back rather amusingly, saying, well, actually, I like the second movement. Did you know that? But she did say she loved this passage. So, you know, a bit of a slap in the face. Yeah. It's all really transition, you know, it's over a dominant pedal. It needs to move a little bit more.
Sorry.
Good. Yeah. Very beautiful. I love this pacing now. Do you like it? Does it feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's making more sense in terms of the message, you know. You're communicating your message to us. Yes, this is lovely. I like the way you bring this out. Good. But, you know, keep the top line as well, because it's still the most important. you know, when we want to bring out an inner voice, it doesn't mean we have to sacrifice the principal voice. Try that. But can you do it legato? This A tied. Good. You'll have to think a little bit more about your pedaling there, just to make sure.
Yeah, it sounds
yes. Well, you got this legato, but these two Gs also need joining.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out if you think about your pedaling. Next phrase. Yeah, don't do too much writ in the first. Oh, I did. Now the writ. Beautiful. But what we should end up with at the end of that bar actually is all of these notes for a brief moment. The E should be down.
Yeah.
You see? Good. So you know why that's important? Because when we cut off into the unexpected silence, it's more dramatic if we've cut off from 5 notes and then the silence. It's accented, yes. So 1, 2. It's accented because it's a syncopation. Feel that. 1. I think you have just the right emotion there, but I wouldn't do an accelerando before the writ. I don't think it needs it. I think we lose this syncopation, the sense of breathlessness. Think of the rests between. You're rushing there. Sorry, what's it? See, if you don't allow yourself to do quite so much accelerando in the first bar, we can keep the breathlessness, we can keep the rests. Yes, and be honest with me, when you play each of these, do you feel in your gut that there are syncopation, so that it's mpa, mpa, mpa?
I tried to.
You need to. You need to. You need to work those stomach muscles. Mpa, mpa, mpa. Mpa, mpa, mpa. Yeah, they sound a little too easy for me. It's mpa, 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 mpa. Yeah. Just delay them. A little bit more breathless. Allow the breath between each one. Oh yes, oh yes. Very nice. So quicker is not always better. Quick is not always better. And then here. To me, that phrase, the first phrase, although it's not marked, the phrase mark suggests a diminuendo. Not only the phrase mark, what else suggests a diminuendo in these 3 chords?
The accent on the first one.
Yes, he's put an accent on the first one. And what else?
The crescendo he writes after.
Yes, and there's other things as well. You know, it's always good to try and think of as many reasons for our choices as possible, because then our conviction will be greater.
Yeah.
The texture, it's descending melody. It's also coming inwards, the texture, the bottom's coming up. So it's getting, everything about this says diminuendo to me. Now the other way. Yeah, he writes adagio there. To me, that suggests suddenly something more statuesque. I would play almost like a Beethovenian adagio. Because I'm struggling with why he wrote adagio, you know. It's got a certain character, adagio.
Yeah, definitely.
Not too much rubato, not too conversational, more statuesque now. Try it that way. Ta-ti, ta-ti. Pause. Good. This is a resolution of sorts.
Yeah, that was excellent.
But what do you hear? Do you hear F major or D minor under that chord? It's deliberately ambiguous, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because this chord
neither.
seems to be setting up D minor. Although I tend to hear without that D minor chord. F major. Anyway, he solves it in the next bar. He decides for us. It was D.
Yeah.
But, you know, enjoy the questioning, enjoy the doubt about that F. It's resolving, but we don't know where. One more time, just that, and then carry on. Okay, now I think you need a more orchestral sort of conductally approach to the rhythm again. This is enormously demanding in terms of its rhythm. It's and the sforzando is on the first beat, the first point where he regulates the rhythm. So first of all, I would play legato, because through the legato you can feel the tension of the syncopation. Tim, tum, ta-dum. Now can we get a better crescendo through the four notes? Dun, 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 dun. Arriving at the sforzando. Good. Ah, there's a pause there. Ta-ti, ta-ta. Yeah. Pause. Then the rest. Tum, tim, tum. Okay, no, again, that's not the place to rush because of these syncopations. But we can't rush. We ruin the tension of the syncopation if we rush too much. No, even that's too much. Better. Yeah. Now two-bar phrases. Yes, keep the tension. Try and keep the syncopation. Oh yes, it's much better. I really like that. I feel the tension in every beat. And look at his accents though, don't miss these accents. In the last two bars, the top, just to the last. So there's a reason for those accents.
Yeah.
It's Clara again.
Yeah.
5 descending. Okay, all right, good. Now, look, I don't want to run out of time. In terms of this dominant pedal, it's still there. It's still there, and then he goes off on his wild escapade again. By the way, make sure this passage builds to this. Should be your biggest sound. Check sonically that this is your biggest moment. We haven't got time to do it now.
Oh.
But when you're at home, I loved your fanfares. But you were at your loudest point around here, and you need to arrange it so your loudest point is just before. And what happens here, we reach this C of sorts. We've always had G dominant against this theme, but it's not a satisfactory resolution. Why not?
It's not the right harmony.
So the bass has reached its destination, but the harmony hasn't. Isn't that like life itself? Something works and something doesn't. Get it all right at the same time is what he's looking for. And he can't. And he doesn't. And he goes on. And even the very last appearance before the legend of the sea is this incredible chord, yeah? So, yeah, and then the legend, I think simpler flow. Then pizzicato. It is just a little bit too complicated in its syntax and phrasing to suggest this sense of legend, something monumental that's just there. It hasn't really got a human touch. It's more, it's beyond that. Yeah. Can you try and capture that? And very nice, but don't place the last note of a phrase. That's a habit slightly you have. Breathe after the last note of the phrase, not into the last note of the phrase. One more time. Now end. Weak. Good, now breathe. Very nice. Now simple. Harmony. You can enjoy more. Simple flow. Bits. Again, you place the last note a little bit. You know, wouldn't you pedal these pizzicato a little bit? They need softening. Yes, and maybe I wouldn't mind if you used una corda just to get this very soft edge. Very nice. Now, good. Now, look, I admire what you've done in this passage. You've tried to preserve the staccato of this voice. Again, pizzicato, if you like. But it's not quite working at the moment, because what happens when you play, you pedal the last one. Yeah. Did you notice you were doing that? Now, we haven't got time to go into it now, but there is a way of doing it. If you learn to put your pedal down just after. Yeah, and taking some notes. I take some notes with my left hand here, for example, this B flat. So by clever distribution and clever pedaling, you can preserve this orchestral texture, trust me. It's worth striking. You're intelligent enough to do it, just to see it through now, so that all these staccato notes remain staccato and everything else is legato around it. It's a wonderful three-dimensional orchestral texture then. In the next section, I wanted more bass. It keeps, there's that C again, yeah? But it's not C major. That's why he's frustrated. And then I wanted more from that fifth finger. Just try this. Yeah, don't pedal too cleanly. We want some sense of this A natural. Yeah, keep something. You can do half changes in the pedal on the way up there. Good. Yeah, it's kind of string quartet texture, right. And again, more intimate, not so held, but a little bit more casual, like you're with a very good friend. You don't have to stand on ceremony in these passages. Yeah. Completely relax and let it flow. let it flow. Yeah, see, even a little bit more, okay? I'll leave you to think about that, because the Rit's coming up after that. By the way, there's a lovely polyphonic thing. If you can get that legato in the tenor, it makes a wonderful counterpoint. Not now, but you can think about that as well. And a suggestion here, when you come to... Maybe this is like a dream there. Maybe keep some pedal, some resonance from the forte when you go into this piano dream.
Yeah, I think I agree. It sounded very empty.
Yeah, I think you have this haze of, maybe if you go just 2 bars or 3 bars before to get into it. Yes, now go. Again, nothing too human. This is like a dream. Tom, pom, 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 pom. If you get that pedaling, you can just play like that. Don't stop. Now, the question mark. Tayam. Right, it's a dominant to G.
Right.
It's the wrong dominant.
Yeah.
We're still looking for that C. And you know, because we've got to finish soon, I want to sort of skip forward. And the first place we have a proper C major chord, actually, is here. And it's not even the result of a cadence.
Yeah.
This is the wild emotional state of this music, in a way. We've been setting up a C major cadence, and when it arrives, it's not the result of a cadence. It comes out of nowhere. But we do, of course, on the last page, have the reconciliation when he brings this Beethoven An die ferne Geliebte. There's, maybe people don't know, but he quotes from a song cycle by Beethoven to the distant beloved, which of course is totally relevant to his situation. Yeah. And these words in the song are, take these songs, take them. So he's really, this is what he did in his life. He wrote piano pieces and he sent them to Clara and he said, take them and play them, please. She was a pianist, obviously. This is his message to her, and it doesn't come out of the blue. If we had longer, I'm sure you realize it's set up right from the beginning, actually. So I thought you managed this very beautifully, the way each repetition comes softer, more distant, the distant beloved. The tragedy is that she wasn't getting any closer. There wasn't really light at the end of the tunnel. So the first one is mezzo forte. By the way, these interjections can be lighter and more casual. And then the second one is piano, which you did beautifully. But again, try and find a different color. You know, less articulated for that, maybe in soft pedal. Now, the very last one, the pianissimo, can you really just whisper it? This one was more or less the same as your piano one.
Yeah.
Because then... Still not the resolution. Finally. There. And then he consolidates. Yeah? So just work hard at that pianissimo. Don't change the pedal from here to there. Could this be this quiet tone he refers to in the poem? Have you translated this poem?
Yeah,
he wrote, oh, you've written, yeah. Yeah, resounding through all the notes in Earth's colorful dream, there sounds...
It's not an exact
no,
there
sounds a note.
It's also kind of peculiar in German, so...
Yes, that's right. It's a poetic translation. Yeah. There is a quiet note that you can hear for those that really listen.
I think it's also this one too.
Yes. Well, we can have different interpretations, but also I think, you know, the way he ends pianissimo with this C you know, Fantasie in C. He called it Fantasie in C.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big thing in his mind,
Yeah.
part of his structure. You know, you can have different ideas about that, but there's just such fantastic music and so rich, and I think you're doing a really wonderful job with it. Try and simplify your phrasing.
Mm-hmm.
Try and speak through your phrases. Find a speech rhythm or a song rhythm sometimes. Don't hold them up in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Breathe between them. Never compromise for your syncopations.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the bass progression all the way through to build the tension as well. And try and always unite your decisions of musical grammar with the emotional state of the music, which I feel you're very good at. But it can just be a bit more pertinent in places. It's very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was yours. Careful, I'll steal it. Yeah. All right. So, are we on time? We're just about on time. Thank you, Magdalene. Okay. So, first movement. Oh, we're doing Beethoven. Great. Sorry, I thought you were doing the concerto next. Great. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Put the desk down, Magdalene. Well done, Magdalene. Always acknowledge your audience and give them a bow, won't you?
Thank you.
Thank you. When they've showed their appreciation. Lovely. Very well honed and etched. Beethoven, as we know, his approach to music, his stock in trade was contrast. This is what he believed inside was the essence of music and the essence of life. So the challenge to us is to maximize those contrasts, and I think you can make a little bit more of them. When he's wild and boisterous, he's really wild and boisterous, and he's pushing us to the limit of that, really. When he's tender and simple, he's so tender, and the simplicity is perhaps the thing which evades us the most, you know, to achieve a simple flow, to get out of the way of the music, is when he's at his most profound, really. So, yeah, I mean, he called these, I think, at the beginning, trifles. You know, they're small pieces. And the last piano work he ever wrote, by the way, he'd given up on the big sonatas. And he really wanted to sort of distill the essence of his work with music through these smaller textures. But it's very extreme music, right?
Yeah.
The register, he uses extreme register. Ridiculous contrasts, like at the beginning of the last one and the end of the last one. I mean, there's humor in that, but it's so vivid, and I think that's the challenge to us. A lot of these are like little graceful dances. The first one, he puts con piacevole, and I think you can have a slightly easier flow. Make it just so comfortable. Were you happy with your first chord today?
No.
No. It's such a hard beginning, isn't it? Because you want to produce the most beautiful glowing sound with these 3 notes. How are you going to do that? I mean, let's talk about the practicalities of playing in public now. There is some nerves, there's some slight anxiety. Tell me what you think about how to prepare that first chord.
I would give myself time, most importantly, and try and relax as much as I can, and just sort of brush the keys without tensing up too much.
Yes, yes. Relaxation, I think, is the most important thing. Hear the sound you want in your head. Hear those 3 notes. How much B do you want in that? It's the major third, so probably quite a lot. Try and hear that sound that you want, and then completely relax into the key. I felt that there probably was a residue of tension, which means that it didn't come out quite as beautiful as you wanted. I don't know, I'm putting words in your mouth, but
You're right.
yeah, let's try and start again and try and get that easy flow. Yeah, so there's an element of, you tell yourself to relax, but I think what you don't do is you don't go right to the bottom of the key with that sense of movement, you know, that relaxation. It's the weight from your arms, uninhibited, not just to the surface of the key, but through the key to the bottom. So it's, yeah, so momentum can be part of that, perhaps, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Then take the flow. Yeah, immediately in this bar, I think the left hand, more left hand. By the way, have you got a copy?
I can get my iPad.
Do you think, I think it might be easier for us to work. Is it in the hall?
It's upstairs.
Oh, no, don't worry then. We'll manage. By the way, this is photocopy, but we'll say it's a photocopy of your own copy, which you have, so that's fine to use. Yeah, so try and bring out the left hand. When it starts to move, it's a little bit more important than you make it, I think. You see, don't stop. Go straight to the bottom of the key with that momentum. Yes. Good. Now, there's a few points of musical grammar within that, which I think can hone your message more clearly. syncopations. Also, first of all, before we get to the syncopation, this is very dance-like. Now, the first syncopation is here. That's the second one. Actually, you played this. You played that. And then you play this one more because there's a crescendo, right? Is that why?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem for us. But I think the syncopations take precedence. Do the crescendo through those. You know? Maybe the first syncopation, no, the second syncopation needs to be more because it's on the crescendo. But recognize them as syncopations. They've got tension. They need tension. Can we go from dance? Poor you. Yes. I feel you felt the first one, but then feel the second one. Because it's, yes, there's tension in them. Good. Would this cadence have more, would be more effective, have more definition if you made a little break before it? What's happened here? Barely, but do you hear how I half lifted the pedal to create some sort of articulation of the perfect cadence? Continue this thing crescendo. Yeah. I think the biggest problem in that is how to treat the B as an end of a phrase while we're doing the crescendo. I think you'll find a way if you keep thinking of it. For the moment, that B is too heavy for me, but I know why you're doing it. Okay, now let's flow. So this is the restatement of the opening theme. What's the difference?
The left hand.
Yeah. So now he's flowing. Pee-pom, pee-pom, pee-pom. Let it flow. Dee-ta, tee-ta, tee. Right? You know, when we approach these small pieces or big pieces, our job is to get behind the mind of the composer, get through into the compositional mode. Okay, so he wants this to flow more, so let it flow more, because the left hand's flowing now. Now he delays the syncopation one quaver, but it's still a syncopation. The G is stronger than the A. In fact, you might decide to separate because he doesn't put a slur. Or maybe half separate, like a... I think the G is more, yes. This is very vocal, isn't it? What is vocal about these two bars?
In the right hand?
Why do I think of it vocally? Do you know? These intervals, you know. Oh, it's gorgeous. Don't rush any of those intervals, whether they're going down or up. A singer would need time to portamento, to fix the pitch. Oh, so beautiful. Don't rush it. Can we just, we can't keep going back, so let's just go here. Good. Can you do the crescendo without it beginning to sound at all brutal? So the B, I know it. It needs to have a pleading to it rather than a pokiness to it. You know, when you come down. Oh, I love that. And when you can be perfectly legato in all the voices, that's the job. That's the foot's job. That's better. The C now is perfectly legato. Okay, so now homophonic, all right? So maybe, doesn't need to be so pale, maybe. Good. Now, be aware of your harmony, secondary dominant. We've gone to the dominant key, so when we get... Enjoy this 5-7 D chord. I wanted a bit more left hand, a little more C sharp. It's a gorgeous chord, isn't it? Yes. Keep going. I love the way you play this. Can you just make sure the bass line is legato? That would be a nice touch here with the listesso tempo. Yeah. Let's have a look at that left hand. Because the thumb is having to repeat, your touch can be freer. Release. Release. Right. In order to gain perfect, yes, in order to gain perfect tonal control of that, I feel like the little muscles in your wrist can relax more. Watch. So we play always in motion and very light here. Try. In motion. Yes. Tension comes in when we stop the movement. So if we keep continuous movement in all those little muscles, we also gain perfect control. Because it's controlled with weight from the arm. Yes, there we go. Aha, lovely. Does it feel better? Yeah, just not happy with the last one. From the arm. Also, can I ask you to try and get rid of, I want you to really think about this in your practice. Get rid of anything extraneous. First of all, you've got to identify what might be extraneous that you're doing with your arm. I felt then that there's something happening in your elbow that's not necessary for this simple. What we're looking for is this pure sense of weight to key. Don't tighten your elbow. One more time. Relax your elbow. Aha. So what you're looking for is that pure sense of arm weight. Sometimes that's out a little bit. It's getting better. One more time. Quite a vigorous movement. Good. Hands together, listesso tempo. That's better. Now, go on. Molto tenuto. Even longer, perhaps. Trill up and down, reminiscence of Opus 110, isn't it? First line, I suppose. As long as you want. Yes, why not? Non presto. Yeah, non presto, but in one. I think that's the answer here. One phrase. Yeah, try to avoid stopping anywhere because really we're trying to get to there. I know it's tempting because there are appoggiaturas within it. But what could be more effective is if you just try and get an even rhythm without being overly quick. To there.
Oh, sorry.
That's it. Get to the diminished. Right, you see? Yeah. By not making any events well, you couldn't work at it, but by not making any events anywhere, then you make this event the one. And of course, if we want to make an event, we have to prioritize. We can't make more than one event. Yeah, very good. Anyway, we'll go on for now. So, sorry, wrong rhythm. Yeah, a little suggestion here. I think it's quite difficult for you to get into this unless you play in time here. Go ba ba bum ta tum ta tum ta tum. Yeah, make more sense? Makes more sense to me. Good.
I think it's just going from this into that is really...
Yes, but the diminished harmony gives you a way of coming back in time and not holding it up again. Yes, especially as it's then repeated. That was lovely. Good, carry on. You know, can you, despite everything, the richness, can you... There's still two note slurs. Pira, pira. No. Ta. Yes, pleading. To me, the G is a little bit too present. Yes. Lovely. Very legato. Even if the pedal has to help out with these sixths, very legato. Yeah, you know, I think that chord needs a bit more because it's got to last, hasn't it? It doesn't need placing now, just. Yeah, you see, my point is that this top line here is thin strings. If you're going to give the sense of line, then this A and the C will need to be a bit more so we can hear that line ascending there. Thin strings need help. Go on. Good. It's getting better, this rhythm. I wrote here character in the rhythm because the left hand suddenly starts this strange thing. It's got to have character, that rhythm. It's not just pa-pa-pum, pa-pa-pum. It's got some sort of tension about it. Yes, this is the most simple kind of harmonically. Just let it flow. Yep, you know, there's no crescendo marked yet. What about if you keep this impassive in terms of dynamic? Just let it flow, nothing. Now there's a crescendo. Maybe you don't need to place this, but you could just do that little brief thing. So I made my event through the dynamics. No rhythm, no rubato. You know, I think, let's just stop for a moment and consider Beethoven writing these pieces. They're small-scale pieces, but we know how finely etched they are by little markings like that. He's so detailed. And of course, then when we start to see, oh gosh, he really wants something there, then you think, okay, these are subtle pieces, these need exploration. Good. So just do the crescendo without any time, taking any time. Tum, tum, tum. Make this the peak. Can you do it even more impassive with the rhythm? I like that. Now no writ. Now the writ. bit, when it comes back to legato, then you can start to pull up in this bar, but not in this bar. Can you hear strings in that bar using their bow? Da, da, dee, da, dee. How much energy do you want in that one? Just try the last two bars again. Yes, and a little bit more C as well. Lovely. Now, the beginning of this one. Can it be more violent? Now, do you object to me using that word?
No, actually, I was thinking about doing it like that, but I was worried it would sound unpleasant. Yeah.
Well, I think it should sound unpleasant, really, because Beethoven doesn't draw his boundaries in things like beauty and unpleasant. He wants unpleasantness sometimes, because he has the whole of life in his music, you know.
Yeah.
It's not always pleasant. I put here, capture the character in the sound. It's wild, it's unexpected. I think we probably need a slightly portato touch. Do you know what I mean? A hand movement for each note, otherwise we won't get the strength. I wonder if we can an element of portato touch, even in the scales, maybe. Yeah, let's acknowledge our limitations. We're not going to really match this wild character unless we use some sort of touch like that, you know. It's not legato, it's portato. Okay, and then, of course, this wonderful contrast with him. Okay, what I would say is that in order to get the violence and the shock value to its maximum, we may not want to play quite so quickly. We may want a tempo where we can really articulate every note, you know. Yeah, very good. Excellent. Just those first three. 3 notes.
I think I'm sitting.
Yeah. You know, the key in your ear to the 3rd note. This second G tends to get glossed over unless we're really attentive. Because the first G is the upbeat to the B flat, pom, pom. The second G, ta, is the lift note to the D, and we have to hear all of them. Pa 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 pum. Yeah, I think the way I would think of it is trying to get the second G louder than the first. Pa 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 pum. And yes, and there's a logic to that, because the interval it's setting up, the interval which it's the springboard for, is wider. So, and then in the next phrase, aha, even wider. 3rd, 5th, 3rd, 6th. And it's the note that prepares the leap, which is the important one, always. Excellent, Magdalene, you totally understood. And actually, it's helped you find the right tempo, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Carry on, piano phrase. Yeah. Can this be tongued like a good wind section soloist? So in order to do that, you make a little break. Make the last note staccato as well, this one, so that you get the energy. And then extra. Again, you know, this kind of articulation that I'm looking for, like an oboe, again comes from this natural use of weight. So. problem at the moment is that this chord is as loud as this one. This one must be very soft on the way up with the wrist. Yes, that kind of thing. Right, now I hear the tonguing of the oboe. Ti-ra-tam, the energy. Bit more even. Good, carry on. Yes. Good. Now, yes, you've really got this now. I feel you're listening to the third note. That's great. What's extraordinary about this passage is the tessitura. He takes this down here. Can we have a little bit more left hand to make the most of that? Imagine a string quartet. Very legato. Overlap the pedal like that. Now, what's this note? What's its function, rhythmic function?
In appoggiatura.
Syncopation, yeah? And appoggiatura, kind of, yeah. Either way, it's strong, right? So can you... Maybe that was a bit too much, but, you know, sometimes we try to be too sophisticated, don't we? Let's get to the essence of basic musical grammar. It needs some strength, yes. Find it. Do it as you wish, but do it. Yes, and that's it. Listen to that resolution. Good. Carry on. I felt this. I wrote here, can you play warmer, the melody? He says cantabile, but give it some heart. Okay, a few suggestions how to do that. Come away, obviously, with this interval. That's what a singer would have to do. Singer could never do ti-da-ya. And give this one enough so that So what I'm saying is listen to your long notes, give them enough sound, and come out of them gently, and give enough to your appoggiaturas. Maybe we can just do a bit more of all that to make it more beautiful. So the G's are and then listen. So for me, the E flat is, I hear when you play the E flat, I feel like you're bashing me on the head because the F has died away. Yes, and then this one can have a bit more. Yes, okay, you get what I'm thinking. I'm just listening more to that legato line. Good, you can carry on with that kind of idea. Now, let's move on because we don't want to get stuck too much. Perhaps this cadence here. Again. Yes. Okay, yeah, we're really honing this now. I think I'm confident enough now to say, having worked on it with you, that I, in my mind, would want the third note the loudest of all four. Because we don't want that. I'm thinking the third note the loudest. Yes, exactly. Not quite. Third note. Yes. Right, this is extraordinary writing, what we've just arrived at. I've put here existential scream. It's like something from Opus 106 or 111. Ah! Good, and again, that's one of those places I would just do an even shape, I've written, an even crescendo and diminuendo, perfectly gradated. Anyway, you can think about that. And when we get here, bass, just that D flat, I wanted a bit more. Right, we don't expect G major. But as the sun comes out for a moment, only a brief moment, because then we have the minor subdominant, don't we? But can you give a moment for the sun to come out before the cloud comes quickly over? Here, we need to go into that. It's lovely. Syncopation. Okay, remember, we don't want to become too sophisticated. We're not going to show a syncopation by not showing a syncopation. This is the danger we sometimes fall into. Oh, too obvious. No, it's a syncopation. It's simple music. Despite all this emotional complexity we're talking about, the grammar is simple. And that's how the emotional complexity will emerge. Thank you. Thank you. I thought the third one was a little bit too lacking in flow. Again, you'll find it easier if you find this. I think the grazioso is the key word. A little bit more graceful. Let's just try. About this note. I think it's intensely beautiful, and the G must fall. You know, learn to separate. So we have two expressive devices as musicians. We have tone and time. That's all we have. Nothing else exists. Learn to separate your use of both. Do this moment through tone and not through time. So no rubato. Let's just see if that works in your mind. Maybe don't take so much time.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
I know what you're thinking. Yes. That's nice. I love that. Flow easily. Now conviction to this accent. No, that's not conviction in that accent. It's the most bizarre marking. So we really got to mean it.
How do you do it? How do I reconcile that with
Well, for experiment, I mean, you know, our practice is a wonderful period of experimentation. But I feel you haven't yet really exaggerate, and then maybe the meaning comes through. It's beautiful. Did you like it?
It can get better.
It can get, yeah, but it was bouleversant, as the French say, because it was such a shock. Of course, that's what he wants. It's an accent where exactly the point there should not be an accent. And you really invested it with meaning. And they felt it too. I felt it. I felt this in the stomach, because it's against the natural order, that accent. And you made it that way. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. you'll see my markings that might make more sense to you as you look through, if you're interested to, in terms of what we've already talked about. You'll see where I'm coming from, perhaps. I wondered if you should begin this trill on the upper note, really. I know most people don't, but it's just wrong, especially as it comes from the B flat. I'm sure Beethoven would have. And then this flow, flow, flow here, this left hand just needs to flow. Can you just play this? Why are you... It works in one pedal. Ah, it's too much. It works.
I was wondering if that marking meant like separate as in pedal mark every bar.
You know, I'll tell you why I don't think it does.
Okay.
It's because this is a very unusual marking for him. He's put pedal and then sempre pedal. He's kind of, he couldn't, beyond the grave, from the other side of the grave, he couldn't really be clearer. Anyway, there is a way of making it work. We haven't got time now. Number 4, rougher in character. A bit like I was saying, about number 2. And then that, just imagine how effective that is. Don't feel rushed at all. It's better, you see. And just totally in time. The strong one, that's the strong one. There's another reason why this needs to be the strongest one. It's because if you've taken a break here, it helps you regulate the meter for the listener. Exactly, and then... Go with the crescendo now, all the way. Yes, don't be shy about it. This is one that goes all the way. And then take time. You didn't quite make that forte on the last note. And then, of course, we won't actually play this one piano, will we? Because we won't hear it. Something like that. That's exactly right. And then when you get to here, dum, 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 this is brutal. This is not music. This is life. This is something brutal. So use your hands in a different way now. Now, I wouldn't be too obsessed with the fact that he writes forte the second time. It's the same character, slightly less intense, that's true, and I think we can make psychological sense of that. Did you hear it?
Yes.
Same attack. There's just an element of doubt in the background. And then, I just wanted these, and I wanted the rests here. Okay. In this section, the B major section, can you just float? Don't change the tempo. I felt you tried to do too much with this. It's all about the long line. It's very bucolic. It's very easy. Don't be too expressive with it, yeah? Okay, again, we haven't got time to try. Don't do a writ here, by the way. Nor here, because if you do it there, you ruin the sudden silence. You know what I mean? Yeah. Good. I felt the tempo of the last one was slightly, yes, the tempo of the andante of the last one slightly too slow. We need to feel the 3. We need the flow, okay? And like we talked about in number 2, even more wild, perhaps with a portato touch, perhaps a slightly slower tempo so that we can get the strength in the sound. But it's all about that incredible contrast. More dolce here, yeah, Tom. Again, come away to the A, yes? Yes, and this is a duet. I want to hear both voices. Sometimes more of the bass. Good. Look, we've run out of time, but we sort of got through half of it. It's really great. Really nice to work with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Magdalene. Excellent orchestra. And thank you to our soloist. Many beautiful things, Misha. My one reservation is that really this music, you know, he wrote it as a young man, 19, 2 years younger than you. But so developed was his style already, you know. This, we talk about the late works being very polyphonic, but there's so much richness in the polyphony here. And the intensity of the emotion, well, that you can expect from a young man, perhaps. The sophistication of the counterpoint is a surprise. What I find is that your sound doesn't always reflect the intensity of the music. There's some very beautiful things, but there are several reasons why your sound needs to be more projected. One is you won't be heard above an orchestra. So it's a practical thing. Two is these cantabile melodies need more presence in the sound to really sync, for example, the second subject. Three, if you're going to show polyphony, you need to create layers in your sound. So unfortunately, at the moment, there's only just enough space for the one line, so that when we get 2 or 3, I can't really appreciate more than that one because I can't hear it enough. You need depth so that you can work within that range of sound, that space that you've given yourself to maybe project 2 voices, you know, not equally ever, rarely, but alternating perhaps within short time periods. Right, so that's, you've got your copy here. Do you want to use this one?
No, it's
You're okay?
the same.
It's the same one, okay. Now the entry here, what do you think about this piano entry? I mean, first of all, we should say that, you know, this concerto comes out of a certain tradition of, you know, the brilliant style, the virtuosic concertos of the time, but went way beyond anything that would been written before. I mean, his main inspirations were what? Hummel, Moscheles. So the form is very standard for the time, you know. There's no cadenza, doesn't need a cadenza because the brilliant style, there's lots of virtuosity all the time. So this opening gesture is kind of typical. What does it mean to you? Talk to me about it. General question, a bit difficult, but why is it so arresting?
Arresting?
Arresting. Impactful, surprising, powerful.
I mean, it's a statement. It's romantic.
Mm-hmm. The harmony?
He always states himself.
But the harmony as well, yeah? It's part of a cadence. This is the minor 6th, right? Minor 6 cries out, especially when it's up there at the top of his piano, doubled with the thumb of the left hand. It's crying out. So important was this D flat to him in the first cadence of the piano that he puts an accent on it of types, whether you want to call it one of his long accents, expressive accents. There is a marking on every one of those D flats. I feel that very often you ignore Chopin's accentuation markings because they're a little bit problematic, right? That's not the answer. The answer is to struggle with them until they make sense, because this is our only link with the mind of Chopin, the incredible mind and hands and heart of Chopin. All he could do to communicate that to us now, 200 years later, is through markings on the page. So struggle with that. It makes absolute sense because the 6th goes to the B flat, well, to the C via the B flat. We need to hear that cadential progression. Yeah, can you think of it more as crying out in pain, maybe? Oh, it's a big gesture, yeah? And also, by the way, the orchestra has played pianissimo, so it's a dramatic gesture because it's out of nowhere. Yeah, so very good. I really like that. It's a statement. And it's got some sort of granite formality to it. Tom, pa 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 pom, pa 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 pee, pa 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 pee, pa 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 pee, da 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 pa 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 pa. But out of that comes this fluid, like liquid, like water. Your little introduction to this in the left hand is not free enough, is not fluid enough. Okay, should we go? Improvise. Yeah, I think you're making a little bit too much of it. What I mean by that is your rubato is too exaggerated at the beginning of this phrase, because really we've got to get to here. Let's not make a feature too much of this. We've got to get to there. So it's just... Yes, that was better, but it was too rigid in rhythm. Now, it's getting better and better, but why do you create another phrase when we get to the A flat? You did. You did. Wouldn't it be stronger if it was just one phrase, and this just comes in at the end of it?
So do you think it goes to the...
I do.
Because the crescendo is... and then I feel... Like
but the phrase mark.
Yeah.
I want you to look more at his phrase mark. It's one phrase. You see, this theme I see as more rhythmic than you. It's got a nobility about it. And very often in your performance, you detract from the dotted rhythm to the detriment of the music. Pa-bom, pa-bom, it's noble, pa-bom, pa-bom. So it can actually come in quite a rhythmic way, not a sluggish way. After that, it's lyrical. You see? So, phrase, isn't it? It's just descending, isn't it? Down, 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 down to here. And it's a challenge to us to create a long phrase. Already there's the big challenge. How do we get from this C to the B flat? Because if we listen to the decay, then we play, it's going to be too soft. Right? Because then we've got nowhere to go. So what we have to learn is the art of sometimes defying the decay. Yeah. Sometimes we go with the decay to a certain extent, of course, to make a smooth, elegant phrase end. And sometimes we just have to sustain in our mind. We need more sound there. But you see, the less long the note, the more you can go with the decay. So, yes. Good. The beautiful, beautiful descent. But what about the rhythm? It's dotted rhythm. Thank you. Now, legato, left hand. It's not really legato, left hand. I like that. And rhythm again. 1, 2. No, it's legato. It's not legato at the moment. I know. Look, let me tell you. I know it's hard. But first one. It has to be legato, and it has to be crisp in rhythm, both. And it has to be on a diminuendo. Why are you lifting from the F to the G? So, what fingering are you doing here?
4, 5.
Why don't you try 3? Just do this, please. Really legato. Yes, thank you. Now, the problem is, of course, trying to keep that legato but keeping the rhythm crisp as well. But it is possible. And the decay, yes. Nice. Hands together. So the left hand also has to be legato, and that's the job of the pedal. Overlap the pedal. Good. So I want you to hear everything, you see. I want you to hear, and I want you to hear legato. And when you want a little bit more A flat, not quite legato. This is the best one yet. Okay, should we go on? Now, the rhythm. I would use 4 here. Okay, if you play the D flat a little lighter, I think you can keep the rhythm more noble and crisp. Pa-bam, pa-bam. This is a little sluggish in rhythm, that semiquaver. Right, now, what about the intensity of this outburst? This is marked fortissimo. Come on, play. It's not enough. Yeah. Let's try and match the intensity of the musical intention with in your sound. You need more sound. Yeah. Still slightly sluggish. It's got energy, it's got athleticism all of a sudden after that lyrical melody. Pa-bum, pa-bum. Are you trying to make a beautiful sound here? Something's stopping you giving your all. And I wonder if it's you're frightened of making a horrid sound or something. But don't be frightened of that. It's not there yet. We need more intensity. Just do that. Oh, you're doing that? Why did you? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Aha. There's your fortissimo. And then this one is also fortissimo, slightly less, but it's still within fortissimo. That's right. We mustn't weaken the character with the second chord, even though, of course, it's slightly less than the first. Big and open. That's okay. This is such a beautiful moment. You know, it's the only time we get this tune. Did you notice he misses this out in the recapitulation? So you better make it beautiful, you know. He goes straight to the second subject, doesn't he, in the recap. So one phrase. Okay, maybe if we're stronger. Then we can take it away more evenly. That's nice, except you're just missing one marking that he insists every time he writes this. What is that marking? Oh, no, that one you did. Yes, and it also applies to the top as well, doesn't it? It's a certain way of making that F very expressive. Maybe lengthen the F. Beautiful, beautiful. This crescendo could have more intensity to chord 6, I think. There's something breathless in this chord 6. But some of the things you do sound a little affected. Why don't you put the G with the D flat? Now give space. Don't rush this. And can we get a better crescendo? Yes. Right. This is declamatory music very often, and certainly here. Give everything. He doesn't actually mark a diminuendo apart from him. Let's try and keep it stronger, this whole phrase. Yes, phrasing. I don't connect it. It's ta ta ta, and then ti da 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 dum ta. You're sort of connecting it with the G. Maybe a little quicker. We could do the major version. That would be something. Nice. So, I think you too often choose this way of being expressive rather than that way. So this one is crying out. Yeah. So then we've got this pianissimo fioritura, which would be a beautiful contrast if you've played, and then suddenly take it away. Wow, that's rich. What I want is rich playing. No. Good. Yeah, he writes here. Well done. It's getting more rich now. He writes forte sostenuto. Twice he's telling us something about the darkness and the seriousness of this. By the way, this is one place where you just have to tell the conductor, put a pause on the fourth beat here, so don't feel rushed. There's a few places you can just talk to he'll know if he's done it before. I know you're playing it with orchestra soon. They'll just wait for you there, so don't worry about coming out of time. Can we go straight on the sostenuto? Yeah, it's got that sort of rush and darkness now. Maybe don't rush because of the sostenuto, so... Your left hand's playing a different piece. The left hand also has to play sostenuto. This is too quick. Yeah, now why don't... If you think in terms of dissonance, there's something very classical about his approach to dissonance appoggiatura. The E would sound better with the D. I would just go straight to the G. So you did something like, which again, I would call that slightly too affected, Good. Now, you did a lovely crescendo. Then keep it. Keep the sound you've arrived at. You sort of lose the richness. Go with the richness in the second bar. Keep going. Yeah, so, I mean, this is rising, these whole bars. G, no, tom, 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 tom. Yeah, let it build and build and build. There's passion in this music, you see? The heart must quicken sometimes. This is what I lack sometimes. You don't allow yourself to respond more viscerally to the emotion. Good. Now straight on C. Maybe stronger in the first bar and some sense of diminuendo, perhaps in the second bar, but all the accents he marks. Why not? Why not? Yeah, existential screams. Yeah, can you, in those fifth fingers, there's wonderful dissonances, each one of them. Can you feel some terror each time in the fifth finger? No, if you play, that's not terror. That's the kind of nice expressive. Let's have the full range. Yes, good. Some of them, good. Now all of them. No, it's too nice. The first one was too nice. No. Right. Now I feel you're being true to the harmony, you see. This incredible diminished harmony. It's got something crying out. Now here. Fix the tempo here. It's a little slow, isn't it? It's a little slow. A little bit quicker. Try. Just try. Why piano? Why piano in this bar? It's forte, yes? Go on. You see, if you play piano, we won't hear that wonderful minor sixth. Good, nice. Now this is wonderful passage, isn't it? Have you looked at the counterpoint? The left hand, for example, has two voices. Play them between the hands. This is essential work, isn't it, to really, I mean, you could do the same with the right hand. Slightly more tricky to do, but he's clearly written a second voice which comes and goes. Can you do the same with the right hand part? Oh, but the F must join to the E. It's inextricably linked to the E, yes? Good. Now, can you make it sound like that in one hand? Yeah, you play the E with the 2. Okay, now play both hands. So now we've got 4 voices in our mind. Try and find space for all of them to come and go, all of these 4 voices. And use the pedal where you need. So, first of all, find the nice notes, find the dissonances. The A natural disappears for me, and it's an important one. Good. Now, more pedal, more legato this time. Really legato. Everything legato. Now, one last request from me before we leave this passage. Can you play it all forte so you hear the richness, just for practice? No, forte, everything. Do a lot of this kind of forte practice. You'll start to hear more richness, and you'll be closer to the level of sound you need when you play with an orchestra. Okay, on we go up to speed now. Next yeah, again, the drama of this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Enjoy that. Those last few bars, interestingly, your left hand was better than your right at projecting the polyphonic detail. Can you play your right hand on its own from here? Yeah. I'm going to ask you to play it one more time. As you play, be aware of the harmony. And when it's diminished harmony, try and get more intensity in the sound. So much better. So much better when you respond to the harmony. Look, diminished harmony doesn't always need to be louder, does it? But I think this is a good starting point for you to try and just to get into the harmony a little bit more. Play richer diminished. Now, this thing coming up, make it one line. Shall we start there? You see, it changes to F flat, but before that, you don't really want to create an event. Even when the F flat comes in, don't stop, because we've still got to go all the way to here, you see. Good, very nice. Now, baby, a little brighter at the top. Yeah, that was nice, but don't stop so much. Could you... You know, he does this quite a lot. He begins the second subject tune on the same harmony that's led into that tune, dominant seventh. That's his way of connecting. That's his way, I think, of saying, don't stop, but sort of lurch into this. Can you think of another place he does that in another work? It's too prescriptive, isn't it? You know the first ballade. This big tune begins on the dominant, where we've come from, and reaches the harmonic resolution in a rhythmically unexpected place. It's the same thing there. He doesn't want us to stop on the bar line. Yeah, very nice. Nice timing. Keep the nobility and the crispness of the dotted rhythms, even in this. So the semiquaver a little lighter. So why don't you breathe after the end of this phrase? It's this wonderful. Breathe properly, yeah? Yeah, now, there's a crescendo up to that. It would be more effective. Ta-dum! If you really did this shape, it's this singing quality, yeah, that I want. Yeah, and on the right note, not the first G, but the second G. Again, breathe. Well, you fall into the trap of, a lot of pianists do this, where there's the end of a phrase and the beginning of a new one, you sometimes accelerate. Well, that's the opposite of breathing, as long as you know that. So become aware of that. Create space. Your left hand has to create space, of course. So if you've taken such a big breath, which can work, then you need to, once you start, you need to go. Okay, good. What about his crescendo? Can it have more intensity? Okay, you know, when we hear this, what do we expect? Which harmony do we expect now? Yes. And what does he give us? No. He gives us, instead of chord 4, he gives us chord 2B. So you don't react to that, but I think you should. When that F comes in, there's a sense of mystery, you know? You need a bit of space for it. It's unexpected. And I think that's why, by the way, sorry, I think that's why he writes poco ritenuto above it. There's 3 voices in the right hand here. That's why you need a bit more depth. Okay, let's just do that again. Accents here. There's one, and there's another one, and there's another one. Okay, so he's accented 4 beats out of 5. What's he trying to tell us? Because at the moment you're kind of glossing over that little detail on the page. That's difficult to achieve, but it's also quite intense. I think he's saying invest this with meaning, you know. It's got a lot of meaning in this phrase, yeah. And that one as well. Now we can go. Now look at the next phrase, no accents after this. So we can go more easily. And there he's told us his rubato through markings, if we just pick up on it. So lingering in the first phrase, then balance that with a more walking, flowing second phrase. Okay, you're glossing over appoggiaturas and harmony, as well as Chopin's markings here, because he writes, and then, of course he does, the 2 chromatic notes, they're really important. Now, I think you're falling into the trap here of feeling them inside, but hoping that people will catch on to them without you showing them. It doesn't work like that, okay? We've got to be more straightforward in our expression. We've got to project these appoggiaturas. Okay, now talk to me about why that's so special, those two bars, in terms of the placement of the appoggiaturas.
Oh.
Where they're placed. Where are the
on the second beat, the first bar.
Right. Here's his second beat. And then he says, oh, that's delicious. Tum tum pa da dum ti pa ba. It's like he's saying, I was wrong the first time. It should be here. And this is the one with real meaning. You've got to really show me this story. Yes, but in general, the second bar is lighter than the first, right? Good. One thing, I'd just take a bit more time in the second bar if I were you. So the first bar was lovely. Yeah. You know? Okay, good. A little uneventful, this. Don't lose interest in the chromaticism, in the shapes. Again. I'll say, so these are two note slurs. It's always strong, weak, and then the correction. Just not in time, though, just in nuance. Intensity. Conforza. So where he writes conforza, you play piano. This has to be crying out. Conforza. Okay, imagine a singer on the stage. Top of the voice. Good. Have you considered this fingering? Yeah. Have you tried 4? Because you know there's something lovely about and then sort of a flat finger, so you use the arm for it. Yeah. Sounds beautiful. Yeah. See, that's expressive phrasing. They're all appoggiaturas. Hands together, carrying on. Oh, you did 2 of them and then you couldn't be bothered with the third. No, now you missed the second one. Okay, you see? Intention has to be full of purpose and focus. They don't all have to be the same rhythm. Some of them can be longer than others. One more time. Okay, but the third one you missed. Probably, I see what you're trying to do, but probably this one needs to be a bit more as well. Actually, look, I've just noticed he writes a crescendo to it. I would advise you to keep to his markings for now. I mean, because it's a new piece for you. Yeah, of course, there are different ways of playing it, and you should feel free eventually. But you can learn a lot from looking at his very detailed markings. Let's do that crescendo. Is there anything you've missed? That was lovely right hand, by the way. Is there anything you've missed in the left hand there? And then in the tenor? In the next bar? No, this is panic, breathless, emotional. Going to become breathless here. No, it's a little bit too measured. You've got to let your emotions get the better of you here. It becomes irrational. This stretto is stretto. Try again. Yes, but what do you think about, the stretto is lovely, but what about, do you think that's tasteful? Sorry, that's a prescriptive question. Okay, what I'm getting at is, you've changed the meaning of acciaccatura by doing this effect. I don't think it's the place. I think that A flat belongs to the C. Let's be true to what's actually written. No, see what I'm saying is, yeah, wait before. No, even longer. So it belongs to the C, not the. At the moment, you're playing it like it belongs to this A flat. Much better. Maybe that takes a bit too long. Yeah, and keep the pedal. Okay, here he writes conduolo. Conduolo, what does it mean? You don't know. You see? You've got to delve deeper. It should be important to you to know what he wrote on the page here. With pain, with sadness, it could be pain or sadness, but how are we going to get that pain or sadness? To me, it's in the thumb. I don't know. This is quite personal, but I can get more of it with the bottom octave. Yeah, would you agree? Darker, yeah. Why does he do this? He does top, bottom, top, bottom, bottom, top, top, bottom. I mean, why? These are the kind of questions we should ask if we really want to delve into the mind and the spirit of Chopin, right? Because it's strange. Most people would write. And he writes. Can you think of any reasons?
Because he wants to emphasize the last beats. So
Yes. And maybe he wants to create some unevenness in the rhythm. Ta, if we sing it, ta, tom, tom, tom. Yeah. So, ask these questions and find meaning in that. Okay, now something else you ignore is his accents here. I agree they're not easy to interpret, but we must try. He writes risoluto. Let's hear these accented chords somehow. Do something with them. Okay, does it add something? Yes, it does. Chopin's a genius, of course it does. Something about that harmonic depth now, those thirds just ringing through. Of course, it makes absolute sense. You see, now we've found something in Chopin's mind and heart that we didn't hear before. Of course, he hears more than us. He's a genius. So yeah, make it work now with the pedal. Try not to make it detached at all. Now, in those phrases, which is the most expressive note of all? Thank you. Can you really play it like it is the emotional peak? Good. It's much better. Now I hear these two-bar phrases with one peak, the A flat. Maybe it could be even better if the F sharp led better to the A flat. No. It needs preparing, yes. It mustn't come out of nowhere, you see. The F sharp also needs to be strong, yes. Don't stop. Yes, enjoy it. Enjoy. the alto in the right hand's a bit too pale. This is another place you must practice. Can you just do it once between the hands? Why?
Because the F.
No.
Because the first time it's.
No, I think it's right. Dominant 7.
Right?
Right, now you've felt those two lines in two separate hands. Maybe they'll mean something more to you when you put them in one hand. No, just the right hand. Be expressive with both lines. Yes. Up to speed now. Yes. Find the richness in the chromaticism everywhere. Hands together now. Richness. Okay, again, his accent. Much better. Good. You put those accents in now. They weren't in there before.
What do you think? Because I'm now playing like this.
Yeah. I'm not sure you'll have time to do that. It's an interesting idea because
it helps with the.
Yeah. Do you have time? Let's try it with the orchestra and see. Let's go from here. Go from here.
The first time.
Yeah. Starting to move on here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you may not have time. You might just have to fake it. But
yeah.
Da-ba, da-ba. Those accents on the offbeats are part of what generates the music forward here, and it is going forward. Can we go on now? No. This is much more interesting than you're making it. So the first two bars of the left hand lead to, okay, they've got to grow to that. Needs to be a little bit more rhythmically incisive by now. It's grand. Accents. Why don't you go straight into?
I go from the.
Sounds too forced to do that. Just go straight into the tremolando. Good. And the job here is to make noise, isn't it? Like alarm bells going off here. And here. Can you make a bit more sound? Depth of sound. Especially maybe, it's easier here. That was a cheeky C. Yeah, very good, very good. Little warmer and freer. Just come in there. We've just got a couple more minutes. Sorry. I think, no, never never compromise on this. Okay, good. One final word. The development section is cascades of intensity. I think it should grow all the way to F. If you want to drop down a little bit at F, fine, because you have to start again, really, to build up. Some people do that. But you were dropping down just at the point where you shouldn't here. So continue that crescendo. The other thing I would suggest is study the orchestral part. You know, we have a hotline to Chopin's mind and his view of the phrasing and the syntax through the way he wrote the orchestral part, the agogic of the music. It can teach us a lot about how to play the solo part, where he places the chords, where the rests are in the orchestra, whether these syncopations. It can really help you firm up your pacing and your phrasing of the solo part. Remember, both the orchestral part and the solo part came out of the same great mind, the creator of this music. We need to use everything he gave us to learn how to play this music the way he conceived it. Good, really good. Just be brave and project, especially when you're playing with orchestra. Never underestimate or play down the intensity of Chopin's incredible harmony and emotional content. That's my advice for you. Well done.
Thank you.
Really good.